Caitlin Clark is way more important to the WNBA than Tiger Woods was to men's golf, even though he was huge. And to then see this negativity, like why? And what should have been done? I looked seriously at the leadership of the WNBA. And how could you not be prepared for this moment? You've seen it happening in the Big Ten. You've seen it at Iowa. You see these TV ratings.
Brennan just exposed the WNBA in a major way.
Christine Brennan is one of the best sports writers in the country, has been for a long time.
The WNBA just faced a brutal takedown. And this time, it wasn't from an angry fan online. It came from legendary USA Today journalist Christine Brennan, whose reporting career has outlived entire WNBA teams. Fed up with the chaos, she exposed the league's missteps in handling Caitlin Clark with hard evidence, clear criticism, and a scathing breakdown that hit every level, from the commissioner's office to bitter veterans who can't handle her rising star. Brennan's critique wasn't subtle. It torched the WNBA's already shaky reputation and raised a serious question. Is this all just jealousy? Or are we witnessing pure incompetence? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because Brennan didn't just shake things up, she blew it wide open.
Came out, what she had to say in this book was going to shake the ground of the WNBA. She's been around for a very long time, and she knows the inner and outer workings of this league. Christine Brennan let it be known in multiple interviews that the WNBA was not ready for a superstar like Caitlin.
Here's how this storm began. Christine Brennan, who's been covering women's basketball longer than many current players have been alive, set out to write a book. Not a cheerful tribute to the league, not a glossy coffee table piece, but a hard-hitting investigation into what may be the WNBA's biggest failure ever: mishandling the Caitlin Clark moment. This wasn't based on opinions or speculation. It was thorough, fact-driven, and uncompromising journalism. And the aftershocks are still rocking the league's foundation.
The thing I don't get, Christine, is that in the case of Tiger and in the case of Jordan, the other players and the league around them, in Tiger's case, the PGA Tour, realized that a rising tide raises all boats and were incredibly supportive of Tiger and Jordan. With Caitlin, it seems like, for whatever reason, she's polarizing. Like she's been hit with more flagrant fouls than any player ever this year. They tried to come at you when you were writing a story and said, don't ask questions about why people don't like Caitlin Clark. But I'm going to ask you, Christine, why is she polarizing in your opinion? Why do people not embrace the phenomenon that is Caitlin Clark?
Brennan didn't show up to play nice. She came ready to cut through the PR fluff, exposing just how out of touch, insecure, and downright careless the WNBA's leadership was when the most marketable player in women's sports, Caitlin Clark, landed in their hands. Clark isn't just a rising star. She's a once-in-a-generation figure who pulled the league into the national spotlight. But instead of welcoming her with open arms, leadership acted like they were stuck sharing space with someone they couldn't tolerate.
It's one of the big points in the book. I deal with all of this and my research and reporting, because I was perplexed as well. I mean, this is the greatest moment ever for the WNBA. Yep. We wish it happened sooner. Of course we wish it happened sooner. There were amazing players who, as you know, both you guys know, were toiling in obscurity, the male-dominated mainstream sports media ignoring.
One of Brennan's most shocking discoveries came the day after Caitlin Clark declared for the 2024 draft, when she called a senior WNBA executive for their reaction. You'd expect excitement, celebration, maybe even a "we hit the jackpot" vibe. Instead, the exec casually compared Clark to Maya Moore. And while Moore is undoubtedly one of the WNBA's greatest, the reality is harsh. Beyond dedicated basketball fans, she never came close to the mainstream fame or cultural impact Clark had before even playing a pro game. It was the clearest sign, yet, that the league just didn't get it.
Like everybody else. And I think, guys, that actually helped me understand as a journalist the fascination, because I've covered a lot over my career and been very fortunate to be at Wimbledon's and Super Bowls and Tiger Woods and you name it. I've covered it. And I'm so lucky to have done that. And I found myself fascinated. Like, who is this? And I'm getting text messages from guys who would never have watched a second of women's basketball. Good guys. They want their daughters to play sports. I mean, good people, but just And they're texting, "Are you there? I'm watching. Are you seeing this performance?" And that told me something that I actually was very helpful to be at home watching it versus being on press row talking to a bunch of other journalists, that like, okay, there's something going on in the country here. And it's everyone's fascinated, and people are standing in line for hours in the cold around the Big Ten, this barnstorming tour. And it's all about a basketball player who happens to be.
That was all Brennan needed to confirm what she suspected. She saw what the league's executives couldn't. Caitlin Clark wasn't just another talented player. She was a cultural force ready to rewrite everything said about the WNBA being irrelevant or niche. While league officials lazily drew comparisons, Brennan already saw the wave of attention, money, and fans coming. And how did the WNBA respond to this rare opportunity? They did nothing. It's almost impressive how badly they bungled what should have been the easiest marketing win in sports. But Brennan uncovered something even worse. The WNBA didn't just fail to plan for the Caitlin Clark moment. They never even imagined it. They were so used to being ignored that they couldn't envision a world where people actually cared about their games. The failure wasn't just poor strategy. It was a deep-rooted cultural blind spot.
Authorized, which is not ominous at all. You want it to be unauthorized because I can tell the truth, unvarnished. Caitlin's quoted throughout the book. She was great answering any question I asked her. But dealing with these important issues. So you've got a 74% black league. We understand this. I mean, I'm white. Ramona, I think you guys are white.
Yeah.
We have no idea what it's like to be black in America. And I say that. Let's be brutally honest here. Here comes a white woman from Iowa, and she's going to be the biggest superstar. Now, absolutely, the spotlight's shining on her. Finally, it's shining on all these other players who deserved it for years but never got it. And that's a wonderful turn of events. But instead of focusing on the positives, sadly, the WNBA players, so many of them.
The wild part is everyone outside the WNBA saw this coming from a mile away. Reporters, analysts, even YouTubers have been following Clark's rise since her Iowa days, shouting loud and clear that she was a game changer. Her fan base wasn't just big. It was passionate, loyal, and ready to pack WNBA arenas the second she turned pro. But the league's front office acted like they couldn't be bothered to notice, and the numbers proved it. In 2023, the Indiana Fever averaged around 4,000 fans per home game, decent for a Friday night high school match in Texas. Then Caitlin Clark showed up for a preseason game, and suddenly fans were lining up 2 hours early like it was a Taylor Swift concert. Even security staff were stunned. They'd never seen anything like it.
And an antagonist. And I've argued that the NBA could use a little bit more of hero and villain to popularize the sport again. The WNBA does not need that because for a lot of America, Caitlin Clark is the hero. And anyone that comes to Caitlin Clark's defense is a hero. And everyone that flagrantly fouls her, speaks poorly of her, acts like she's not great is the villain, and then vice versa on that. How big of a part of the story is that when you look at the conflict surrounding Caitlin?
So, how did the WNBA take advantage of this once-in-a-generation moment? Did they roll out big campaigns, light up social media, and position Clark as the face of their global brand? Not even close. Instead, they reacted like irritated neighbors upset about too many cars on their block. It's as if they were more comfortable staying a small pond than figuring out how to swim in the ocean.
Grown men on talking head shows wanting to fight each other over women's basketball and talking about it, right? We've got all these hot takes about all this going on, Christine. How big of a part of the story is that for you, and is that for this book?
I deal with it for sure in the book. And, I think what we've seen is surprising to me. Having covered women's sports as well as men's, for the length of...
And then Brennan uncovered the real toxin at the heart of it all, jealousy. Her book reveals a deep thread of resentment running from league executives to certain players and even legacy media voices. They couldn't handle the fact that Caitlin Clark, straight out of college, was drawing more attention, bigger crowds, and top-tier sponsorships than veterans who've been grinding for years. Rather than seeing her success as a rising tide that could benefit everyone, they took it as a personal threat.
And here comes Caitlin Clark, and let's say it, and I say it in the book, I'd go into this in depth, a white woman from Iowa in a 74% black league. that's an issue. The book is the first real journalistic look at this entire season and at Caitlin Clark and what she's done and all these issues that are out there. No holds barred. I shy away from nothing.
That jealousy showed itself in the ugliest ways. Players got extra physical with her on the court. Refs mysteriously missed clear fouls. Coaches slipped petty jabs into pressers. Writers churned out think pieces complaining that Clark was too popular. Like being a fan magnet is some kind of crime in pro sports. It's like getting a winning lottery ticket and whining that the paper feels wrong.
Look at the way players like Diana Taurasi, Brianna Stewart, Cheryl Swoops with her flurry of falsehoods, Cheryl Reeve, the Olympic coach, Gina Auriemma, really tried to minimize her and were very critical of her. That stunned me. You should be saying, this is great. You don't have to cheer for her. You guard her. You play tough. She's not a victim. She loves to throw it at people. She's feisty and tough out there. And that makes her, I think, even more appealing to so many people. But for this group of people to want to say such negative things and be so wrong about her, okay, fine. It's a free country. You can do what you want. But what she's doing by going into the WNBA.
And here's what makes it all worse. None of this was hard to see coming. Caitlin Clark's 4 years at Iowa were a blueprint in brand building and fan engagement. She shattered records, filled arenas nationwide, and turned casual viewers into loyal fans. Her following was massive and ready to follow her straight into the WNBA. Anyone paying attention knew she was bringing that momentum with her, except apparently the very people tasked with growing the league. Brennan's reporting also exposes a deeper issue inside the WNBA, a toxic mindset that sees mainstream popularity as a threat to the purity of the game. It's the kind of thinking that leads to self-sabotage. Instead of backing Clark as the league's future, they left her exposed to jealousy-driven attacks. Obvious fouls weren't called. Opponents cheered when she was knocked down. And some media figures twisted her success into something shameful, treating the league's sudden spotlight like a problem instead of the gift it was.
Caitlin Clark is way more important to the WNBA than Tiger Woods was to men's golf, even though he was huge to men's golf. And to then see this negativity, the next question would be, or your viewers and listeners are probably saying, okay, so like why? And what should have been done? And I look seriously at the leadership of the WNBA. And how could you not be prepared for this moment? You've seen it happening in the Big Ten. You've seen it in Iowa. You see these TV ratings. 4 million more, as I said, watching the women than the men. I think it's worth repeating a few times because It is a stunning statistic, guys.
If Christine Brennan's reporting proves anything, it's that the WNBA didn't just miss a golden marketing opportunity. They tripped over it, face-planted, and buried it back in the dirt. They had Caitlin Clark, the most talked-about player in women's basketball in decades, creating a buzz so loud it echoed worldwide. And what did the league do? They fumbled like they'd never heard of promotion. The merch rollout was embarrassing, the game's scheduling felt random, and the marketing looked like it was run by a PDA fundraiser, not a pro league. Brennan doesn't sugarcoat it. This wasn't just a string of harmless errors, it was willful ignorance. They had data shouting, "This is your rocket to the top," but chose the comfort of staying small and familiar. Now we're deep into Clark's sophomore season, and the WNBA is still stumbling like it's day one. Every game, she plays spikes TV ratings. Her jerseys and sneakers vanish from stores like collector's items. Every arena she enters is packed and electric. Yet there's still a weird tension, like some within the league quietly wish the Caitlin Clark craze would disappear so they could slip back into their quiet corner where no one paid attention.
White, one black. And so we have that moment with these two. But the one thing I know about sports, you need rivalry. That's what makes people watch. They want to watch games of consequence between rivals. They don't want everybody being nice to one another. So the social media is different today than it was in 1979 when it didn't exist. But, I always tell the players, I was told a long time ago, if someone's typing something in and you wouldn't ask their advice, ignore it. So it's a balance, but certainly from a marketing dollars, but corporate partners are stepping up to endorse these players, much, much more so than they were 5 years.
Brennan's reporting doesn't just criticize the WNBA, it completely exposes it. She reveals just how broken things are inside a league that was clinging to survival. desperate for something to keep it from fading into obscurity. Then along came Caitlin Clark, a once-in-a-generation talent with mass appeal, a magnetic personality, and the power to pull in TV deals, sponsors, and fans by sheer force. And how did the league respond? They acted like she was a problem to manage, not a gift to celebrate, as if she were just background noise instead of the main event. If there's a better example of an organization sabotaging its own future, it's hard to think of one. This isn't just about basketball. It's a lesson in how outdated institutions can cling so tightly to the past that they kill any chance at real progress. The WNBA had lightning in a bottle. All they had to do was shield Clark from petty drama, promote her like the future of the league, and ride the momentum into a new era. Instead, they let bitterness and small thinking steer the ship. It's as if they couldn't handle the fact that success showed up wearing a ponytail and an Iowa jersey.
Such an incredible moment on a global scale for our game, for our players.
It's like the fans are absolutely incredible. It's the same when we go on the road. Like there's so many people that are showing up in fever gear. It's really affecting, teams all across our league, which is a really great thing. And, really, I think we're just scratching the surface.
One of Brennan's most damning points is how badly league insiders misread the moment. They truly believed their brand was too pure for a mainstream breakthrough, as if staying niche was somehow noble. And the solution? It couldn't have been more straightforward. Support Caitlin Clark, protect her from cheap shots, and let her star power lift the entire league. Instead, they put up barriers, treating her rise like a problem to contain rather than a victory to embrace. While the league's old guard stayed stuck in the past, new media was already locked in. YouTubers, TikTok creators, independent sports reporters, they all saw Clark's appeal reaching far beyond hardcore basketball fans. She was a crossover star, the kind who dominates social media, appears on talk shows, and headline stories outside the sports world. But the WNBA kept operating like it was still 1998, blowing PR chances, hiding marquee games in terrible time slots, and constantly proving just how resistant they were to modern marketing.
We're bringing more and more fans to this league, people that have maybe never watched the WNBA before.
Brennan makes it unmistakably clear. This wasn't just clumsy mismanagement, it bordered on self-sabotage. The WNBA had the easiest marketing slam dunk in its history and treated it like a threat to contain. Worse, that mindset filtered into locker rooms and coaching staffs, where instead of seeing Clark's rise as a paycheck booster for everyone, too many acted like her success was stealing their shine. Newsflash, a rising tide lifts all boats. It doesn't sink the fleet because one ship shines brighter. And this wasn't just a missed shot at home. Globally, women's basketball is booming, and Caitlin Clark has a worldwide fan base. She's not just America's darling. She's attracting fans from Europe to Asia. The WNBA had a golden chance to go global, but instead, dysfunction, jealousy, and refusal to adapt became the story. Brennan even details how the hard fouls and trash talk aimed at Clark weren't random. There were physical displays of the resentment brewing inside the league, played out on live TV. And where was Commissioner Kathy Engelbert through all of this? Her main job is to protect the league's most valuable assets. But according to Brennan, she was either unaware of the growing problem or chose to ignore it, neither of which builds trust. Every uncalled cheap shot, every moment Clark was hammered without a whistle, sent a loud message. Leadership is missing. Brennan also highlights the many missed turning points, chances to flip the narrative, make a stand against the targeting, spotlight Clark and her top rivals, land major sponsorships, and lock in big TV deals off her rookie momentum. They had all the tools, but chose not to use them. Instead, they let the jealousy grow and the opportunity slip away. Behind the scenes, Brennan describes a culture dominated by cliques afraid of being overshadowed. Rather than support Clark, they made her journey harder, forcing her to earn every bit of her success against internal resistance. And the hypocrisy? Off the charts. The same voices who worked against her now publicly celebrate women's basketball gaining attention, without ever crediting Clark as the reason. The price of this petty mindset wasn't just emotional, it was financial. Bigger crowds, soaring TV ratings, record-breaking merch sales, all signs of a league on the rise, with the potential for higher salaries, better facilities, and serious investment. But too many insiders saw Clark's success as a threat to their own legacies instead of shared win. And as Brennan reports, it was mostly the veteran players, longtime coaches, and league execs clinging to that outdated view, while younger athletes and fresh voices were eager to embrace Clark and the growth she represented. Bottom line, Brennan's book doesn't just tell Caitlin Clark's story. It lays bare the WNBA's biggest missed opportunity, a moment when they could have leapt into the future, but instead got stuck in jealousy, fear, and old habits. And thanks to her reporting, there's no hiding it anymore. So what do you think? Is this all jealousy or just plain incompetence? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. Click the video on screen, and we'll see you in the next one.